Hey bro, I think it's time we go back. You know, Cap, I think you're probably right, dude. I think it's finally time to do Schneider-Verse Part 2.
Bruh.
Son of a bitch! Yo, who the fuck is MattCMG? Hey, paisanos, it me, MattCMG, aka disheveled fucking cretin here. I'm getting a haircut in like an hour, but like until then, we're full-on goblin mode today. Back in May of 2020, almost 2 years ago at this point, I released a video titled Into the Schniederverse, a video in which I attempted to decode the shared universe between all of the Nickelodeon sitcoms created by Dan. If she's underage, she's ready for the cage Schneider, alongside some other Nickelodeon shows from around the same time.
What the dog doing?
You done? Yeah, you done? The problem with that video, however, was that at the time that I made it, I had only properly seen Drake and Josh and only had a passing familiarity with iCarly and Victorious, so I got a lot wrong in the video and left out a lot of things that I simply just didn't know about. I've since gone back and watched all of these shows properly, so I am now unnecessarily an expert on this topic. I did it first, by the way. Fuck you, Quinton Reviews. Today, we're going back and figuring out just exactly what is the deal with this shared Nickelodeon universe. From all the contradictions and meta bullshit, and even getting into multiverses and parallel worlds. This shit gets a little wacky. I'm your host, MattCMG, and smash the motherfucking like button! And let's get weird, let's get wild, and join me as we return to the Schneider-Verse. But first, a brief recap in case you haven't seen my original video and don't feel like watching it, even though you totally fucking should. It's one of the only old videos that I actually like on this channel. To give you the little Cliff Notes version, my original theory was that Drake and Josh, Zoe 101, iCarly, Victorious, Sam and Cat, Henry Danger, and Victorious all take place in the same universe, with all that and the Amanda Show existing as shows within that universe. And there are also other shows that are like tangentially connected as well, like Unfabulous and the Thundermans. My original plan with like decoding the Schneider-Verse or whatever was to kind of group everything into one universe, you know, make it as simple as possible. But, like I acknowledged in the original video, there are many problems with this. A lot of the really basic stuff from the original video still stands, but I think it's best if we kind of backtrack a little bit and fix some of the mistakes that I made. First off, iCarly and Victorious are 100% definitely in the same universe because of both the iParty crossover or Sam and Cat. Like I discussed in my Sam and Cat video, if one is canon, then the other probably isn't. But for the sake of this video, let's just assume that it's both, because it doesn't really matter. Zoe 101 also makes a pretty strong case for being connected here as well, with Stacey Dilson appearing in iCarly multiple times, and Coco appears in Sam and Cat. Neither of these appearances seem to contradict anything major, so we'll also count Zoe 101 here. Ooh, I know you see me fucking you. I know you see my conservatorship. Wait, it's different. That's the other Spears sister. What are we doing? Drake and Josh is really the only one of the original four that's kind of a problem here. Like I mentioned, Helen's appearance in the other shows doesn't seem to make any sense, and by extension, neither does the appearance of Craig, Eric, or Gavin in iCarly. The reason this doesn't make sense is because Drake and Josh is explicitly mentioned to be a TV show multiple times throughout the various shows, so obviously the characters from a TV show can't exist in the real world. In the original video, I proposed doppelgangers as a possible explanation, but I've since found a much better one.
Love the kind of woman that can kick my ass.
Enter the reality show theory. While I can't take credit for coming up with this theory, the Drake and Josh reality show theory is a fan theory that suggests that Drake and Josh is actually a reality show within the world of the other shows. This would explain why Drake and Josh is the only show where the characters from that show appear as real people in the other shows. It's because they were never characters in the first place, just regular people who happens to be on a reality show. It also makes sense why they would like talk directly into the camera at the start of episodes, kind of like a confessional on like Survivor or the Kardashians or whatever. I don't know, I don't watch reality shows because I have a functioning fucking brain. Mostly. There are a few problems with this theory, such as that Drake and Josh are often seen being really awkward in front of a camera, which wouldn't make sense if they have cameras in their face all the time. But this could simply just be the in-universe producers of the show kind of making some scripted stuff happen just for the jokes. This is actually pretty consistent with an episode of Victorious where this exact thing happens. Overall, I think the reality show theory does a pretty good job at explaining how Drake and Josh fits into the rest of the Schneider-Verse. The characters within it can still be real people because it's a reality show, because they are real people in that universe. So far, we have iCarly, Victorious, Sam and Cat, and Zoe 101 as the main universe, with Drake and Josh being put into what we'll call the TV show universe, with this little dotted meme here. This isn't so much a separate universe as a whole, as much as it is a way of kind of explaining how some shows are TV shows within the other shows. Also in this category are All That and The Amanda Show. But like I mentioned in the first video, Unfabulous exists in the same universe as Drake and Josh, because Megan crosses over with the fucking kid from that show. But since we're operating under the reality show theory, that would mean that Unfabulous is really part of the main universe. You know, some days I wake up and just think, you know, pussy. In the original video, I also tried to make Henry Danger and Game Shakers fit into the main full universe as well, but after like sitting my ass down and like actually watching these shows, we can see just how wrong that is. I subjected myself to Game Shakers for you people. You better click that fucking like button. It is made very clear in both Henry Danger and Game Shakers that all the other shows exist as TV shows within their universe. Characters from either of these shows can be seen watching pretty much every single one of the other shows at some point or another, which definitely means that there's some fuckery afoot. Afoot. Schneider. He likes feet. And he's a pedophile. Anyways, this would mean that the Dangerverse, consisting of Henry Danger, Dangerforce, and Game Shakers, is actually the real main universe, with the actual Schneider-Verse existing as a TV show universe within it. This means that there are shows within shows within shows within shows. Hypothetically, you could watch Henry, watch Carly, watch Josh, watch all that. It's fucking insane. You could also watch Drake Bell go to prison in real life. That's not related. However, the Dangerverse is not without its own set of complications. For example, in the Henry Danger episode Secret Beef, there's a character named Herb who appears as one of the many people in Henry's house. This is clearly meant to be the same recurring character from Sam and Cat, but like we established, Sam and Cat is just a TV show within the Dangerverse, so this doesn't seem to add up. In fairness, you could simply just brush this off as an Easter egg that isn't meant to have any sort of continuity, but this isn't the only time that something like this happens. In the two-part episode Live and Dangerous, Goomer from Sam and Cat appears as the assistant to Frankini, the villain of that week. You might also brush this one off as an Easter egg too, except it's made very clear that this is the exact same Goomer that we knew. He references how he used to hang out with Frankini's sister, obviously alluding to Cat. That's right, folks, we finally get to meet Cat's brother, in a universe he's not supposed to be in.
1, 2, 3!
Now, obviously, this is meant to be like a little bit of a meta joke because Frankini is played by Frankie Grande, the real-life brother of Ariana Grande, who, as we all know, played Cat. But I feel like this is too much of a coincidence to let pass up. So we have not one, not two, but technically 3 characters from the Schneider-Verse existing in the Dangerverse. This seems impossible until you realize that superpowers and alternate dimensions canonically exist in the Dangerverse, meaning literally anything is on the table at this point. We know for a fact that parallel universes exist because Henry and the rest of the Danger Crew have fucked with them on multiple occasions and was the basis of their Night Squad crossover. We could add that to the list too. If there exists a universe where everybody is Henry, then why wouldn't there be a universe where all of the TV shows that they watch exist as a real universe that they could go to? AKA the Schneider-Verse. Hey, gabagoo. You know, who's to say that one of Captain Man's many enemies didn't fuck around and accidentally bring some people into the wrong dimension? Anyways, my point is, Henry Danger is very underrated. Go watch my other video, or I will fucking slay you in the street, you piece of shit. There are some other minor connections that can be found in the Dangerverse as well. Like I mentioned in the original video, the Thundermans had a direct crossover with Henry Danger, where Max and Phoebe come to Swellview, which means that the Thundermans are now part of the Dangerverse. By extension, the Haunted Hathaways is also in the Dangerverse because of its crossover with the Thundermans. Additionally, and this is gonna get into like real speculation territory, but do you guys remember the blooper episodes of iCarly and Victorious? These episodes were formatted as a talk show with the cast of these two shows. When they weren't watching bloopers, the actors would be out of character and doing these really awkward interviews with Christopher Kane, who is the fictional actor who played Rex. It is my personal headcanon that these blooper episodes are actually just episodes of a late-night talk show that takes place in the Dangerverse. And this would actually make sense, with Christopher Kane being a sentient fucking puppet fitting right in with the rest of the Dangerverse's sci-fi insanity. Christopher Kane's picture also appears on a wall of customers banned from fooders on Game Shakers, which means he might just be a real person as well in that universe. Puppets don't deserve rights. Fuck you.
Don't call him a puppet! That's an offensive term!
It's okay if I say it.
But wait a second, now this raises a whole other set of problems. In the Game Shakers episode Tiny Pickles, Helen from Drake and Josh appears alongside Matt Bennett, which already doesn't make any sense. If Helen exists in the main Schneider-Verse, why does she also exist in the Dangerverse as the same person? Plus, later in this episode, Matt Bennett is run over by a van driven by none other than Rex from Victorious, which again, doesn't make any fucking sense. Like we've established, Rex is just a character on a TV show played by Christopher Kane. This has to mean that Helen has climbed so far up the Hollywood ladder that she has broken the shackles of fucking reality and has moved up to a fucking different universe and started having talk shows there. Rex has gotten so fed up with Robbie's bullshit that he's just started hopping dimensions trying to kill any version of Robbie that exists because he's like, I'm just done with you. Makes sense, I guess. Alternate universes exist. Fuck it. I'm pretty sure I've covered everything at this point, but if not, then comment down below what I missed.
You girls call me when you learn to be a little more...
That's pretty much all we have now, but there are a few more things that I would like to clear up from the first video. Firstly, a lot of you asked me on the original video why I didn't mention Big Time Rush. After all, Victoria Justice and Liz Gillies both make cameos in that show, so why don't they connect at all? Well, the answer is that Victoria Justice isn't playing Tori Vega, she's playing herself, while Liz Gillies isn't playing Jade, but rather a completely different character. Victoria Justice can make a cameo in my existence any day. I'm the world's #1 Victoria Justice simp. Because of this, there's really no basis to connect BTR to Victorious, and therefore the rest of the Schneider-Verse, even though it would have made a lot of sense. You know, you got two shows about music that both take place in LA. Seems like a no-brainer, massive missed opportunity. But the funny thing about that is that this crossover almost actually happened. During a live stream, Matt Bennett, who played Robbie on Victorious, revealed that there was supposed to be a Big Time Rush Victorious crossover, but for whatever reason, it never came to be.
They did the crossover of the Dan Schneider universes with iCarly and Victorious. Nickelodeon, they didn't want to do this episode, but there was the Victorious Big Time Rush crossover episode that never aired.
We're getting into hypotheticals now, but if this crossover had happened, we would have had a lot more connections to make. Big Time Rush once made an appearance on the Nickelodeon show Marvin Marvin, a show about Fred as an alien. This is real. And in the episode Big Time Beach Party, Carlos and Logan meet Patchy the Pirate from SpongeBob. This would mean that SpongeBob canonically exists in the Big Time Rush universe. We're transitioning from fucking live action into animation now. This shit's getting nutty. If you want to get into all like the non-canon crossovers, you can get into like Nicktoons Unite or like All-Star Brawl and how they kind of connect a lot of the Nicktoons together. We all know that the only true canon crossover was the Jimmy Timmy Power Hour, baby. Hell yeah. Wait a second. Butch Hartman exists in the Big Time Rush universe, and they can be seen watching Fairly Odd Parents on several occasions, which means that shit is getting fucking complicated and my brain is melting. Big Time Rush, Fairly Odd Parents, Big Time Parents. That's not funny. That's getting cut. Queef inside of my pussy. So that's great and all, but at the end of the day, none of this really fucking matters. These shows were clearly never designed to connect cohesively at all, so it ends up being kind of pointless to try to connect them. It's pointless, but it's fun. And it's fun because it makes no sense. These shows all exist in this weird meta universe where the old shows become TV shows within the new ones, where some characters stay characters and others become real people. It's very meta, and I think that's by design. The writers clearly don't take it seriously, so why the fuck should we? You know, I've had a lot of fun going back and watching all of these shows for this retrospective series, but unfortunately, this is the last episode of the Nick Retrospectives. That's not to say that I'll never talk about Nickelodeon shows again. You know, I'll probably come back to some of these at some point or another. But for now, I've talked about pretty much all that I want to talk about. Funny, this series was actually originally meant to be like a music review series, where I was gonna go through like the soundtracks of all, you know, like the iCarly soundtrack, the Drake and Josh soundtrack. You know, I was gonna go through all the soundtracks of these shows and kind of like review the music and see how they're relevant to the shows. But that ended up being like really boring, which is when I had the idea for the original Schneider-Verse video. It was the original Schneider-Verse video that prompted me to go rewatch all of these shows and watch some of them for the very first time. I got to re-experience some old childhood memories and found some new favorites in the bunch. Drake and Josh will always be the GOAT in my eyes. You know, iCarly had a lot of interesting things to say about the internet in its prime, and even the reboot is doing a little bit of that. Victorious had some absolute bangers in it. Henry Danger is massively underrated, and even though these other shows were bad, I still found myself enjoying Sam and Cat and Game Shakers. Not season 1 though, that
shit is fucking trash, dog.
In fairness, none of these shows are really like the best shows out there, but they're fun, they're cozy, they're comfy, and in some cases they're nostalgic. But if it's one thing that I've learned from doing this series, is that none of these shows need to connect properly, they don't need to be deep, they don't even have to be good, but as long as they bring people together, that's what matters. It's not about the shows connecting to each other, it's about us connecting over the shows. That, and when you watch enough of these shows, you start seeing feet stuff everywhere, and it is not okay. But that's all for this video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, Patreon, Twitter, all that shit. I've been MattCMG, aka the world's #1 Victoria Justice simp, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, I smell your foot.
Are you ready?
I know, you see, somehow the world will change for me and be so wonderful. Here I am, once again, feeling lost, but now and then, live life, breathe air, I know somehow we're gonna get there and feel so wonderful. When you figure out how you're lost in the moment you disappear. It's all for and you're just how I feel. You don't have to be afraid to put your dream in action. You're never gonna fade, you'll be the main attraction. The members of my nation, it's your time to be. Not a fantasy, just remember me when it turns out right. Cause there's no chance unless you take one. And the time to see that if you live in your imagination, tomorrow you'll be everybody's fascination. See the brighter side of every situation. In my victory, just remember me when I make it shine. Leave it all to me. Leave it all to me when I make it shine. Leave it all to me. When you live in your imagination. When I make it shine. Leave it, make it, leave it, make it, leave it, make it, leave it all to me. When I make it shine, just leave